September 3rd, 1919, 11:47 p.m., Hoop Spur, Arkansas, a small wooden church 3 miles north of Elaine. Inside, 100 black sharecroppers sat packed shoulder to shoulder on hard wooden benches. The air was thick with humidity, sweat, and something else, determination. Candles flickered on the walls, casting dancing shadows across faces worn from decades picking cotton under the Mississippi Delta sun. At the pulpit stood Robert L. Hill, a tall black farmer from Winchester, his voice steady but urgent. "Brothers and sisters, we planted the cotton. We picked the cotton. White landowners are selling our cotton for 47 cents per pound, triple what it was last year, but they're paying us the same poverty wages they always have. It's time we organize. It's time we demand what's ours." Outside in the darkness, armed guards stood watch. Black veterans of World War I, men who had fought for democracy in France, men who were now fighting for survival in Arkansas. The smell of pine trees mixed with something sharper. Fear. Suddenly, headlights cut through the night. A car approached slowly. Deputy Sheriff Charles Pratt and Railroad Detective W.D. Adkins stepped out, both white, both carrying shotguns. "What y'all doing in there?" Pratt shouted. No one answered. Then gunfire. Who shot first, history will never agree. But within seconds, the church exploded, with the sound of rifles cracking the night air. Adkins fell dead. Pratt stumbled back, wounded. The black farmers fired back in self-defense. What happened in the next 48 hours would be buried in lies erased from textbooks and hidden from 3 generations of Americans. Until now. This is the Elaine Massacre, the story of over 200 black people slaughtered for daring to unionize. And by the time we're done here today, you're going to understand why everything you learned about American history was a lie. By the end of this video, your understanding of American history will be shattered. You'll learn how the United States military federal troops sent to restore peace didn't protect black farmers. They hunted them. You'll discover how white mobs armed with machine guns murdered black men, women, and children in cold blood, then blamed the victims for insurrection. You'll see how this massacre was erased, deleted from every Arkansas textbook for 80 years. And you'll understand why the systems that enabled this massacre are still operating today. After this video, you'll understand why the black-white wealth gap exists, why sharecropping was slavery by another name, why labor unions in the South were crushed with violence, why your grandparents couldn't own land. This isn't ancient history. This happened 106 years ago, within your grandparents' lifetime. Some survivors lived into the 1990s. Think about that. If your family came from Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, or any cotton state in the early 1900s, this story is your story. Your ancestors lived under this terror. Your great-grandparents were sharecroppers trapped in debt slavery. This is your stolen inheritance. The wealth that should have been passed down to you was taken at gunpoint in 1919. Here's what you're about to learn. How sharecropping enslaved black farmers economically, even after emancipation. Why Robert L. Hill's union was a direct threat to white supremacy and capitalism. How the U.S. government and military participated in genocide. And you'll never see labor unions' reparations or systemic racism the same way again. So if you're ready for truth, stay with me. Because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about America. But before we get to the massacre itself, you need to understand the world these sharecroppers lived in. Because without this context, you won't grasp the courage it took for them to organize. You won't understand why white America responded with such murderous rage. Phillips County, Arkansas, 1919. Nestled along the Mississippi River in the Arkansas Delta. Flat, fertile land, some of the richest soil in America. Perfect for cotton. The population was 75% black, 12,000 black residents. But they owned almost nothing. White landowners controlled 95% of the farmland. Think about that. 3/4 of the people less than 5% of the land. How does that happen? Let me tell you, most black residents were sharecroppers, and sharecropping was economic slavery. Here's how the system worked. White landowners owned the land. Black families worked the land. At harvest, the crop was divided. Supposedly 50-50. Sounds fair, right, wrong. Because landowners controlled the accounting. They charged sharecroppers for everything. Seeds, tools, housing, food, clothing. All at inflated prices. Prices set by the landowner. No competition. No choice. By harvest time, sharecroppers owed more than they earned. They could never leave. If they tried, they were arrested for debt. If they complained, they were beaten or killed. This was peonage, slavery by debt, and it was legal. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, except as punishment for crime. So they criminalized debt. They criminalized leaving your job. They criminalized being black and poor. And they called it freedom. Let me paint you a picture of what life looked like for a black sharecropper family in Phillips County in 1919. You wake up before sunrise in a wooden shack with dirt floors. No electricity, no running water. Your children sleep 3 to a bed. You eat cornmeal mush for breakfast if you're lucky. Then you go to the fields. You pick cotton from sunup to sundown. Your back aches. Your hands bleed. Your children work beside you because you need every hand to make quota. At the end of the week, you bring your cotton to the landowner to be weighed and recorded. He writes numbers in a ledger. You can't see the ledger. You can't read anyway because there's no school for black children. He tells you how much you owe. It's always more than you made. You go back to the shack. You eat whatever you can afford from the plantation store, the only store you're allowed to use, where prices are triple what white folks pay in town. And the cycle continues, day after day, year after year, generation after generation. You are trapped. Your parents were trapped. Your children will be trapped. This is your life. This is your only future, unless something changes. Now here's what made 1919 different. The Great War had just ended. World War I. Black men had served in that war. Over 350,000 black soldiers fought for America. They fought for democracy. They fought for freedom. Then they came home to Arkansas, to Mississippi, to Georgia, to Alabama. And they found the same oppression they left, the same terror, the same poverty. But something had changed. They had changed. They had seen the world. They had fought armies. They had won battles. And they were not going to accept slavery anymore. At the same time, cotton prices exploded. Before the war, cotton sold for 14 cents per pound. By 1919, it was selling for 47 cents per pound. A 335% increase. Why global demand? Europe needed cotton to rebuild after the war. American cotton growers were making record profits, massive profits. The plantation owners in Phillips County, men like H.F. Smitty, who owned Ratio Plantation EM, Allen, who owned Lambrook Plantation, they were becoming millionaires. Literally. Millionaires. But the black sharecroppers who planted that cotton, who picked that cotton, who made those profits possible, they were still getting paid the same starvation wages, still living in shacks, still trapped in debt, still dying young from malnutrition and exhaustion. The landowners were getting rich off their labor, and they weren't sharing a single penny of it. Can you imagine that? Imagine working harder than you've ever worked, producing a product that's worth 3 times what it was last year, watching your boss get rich, watching him buy a new car, a new house, new clothes, while you're still eating cornmeal and living in a shack with a leaking roof. How would you feel? What would you do? That's the world Robert L. Hill walked into, and he said enough. Robert L. Hill was born around 1892 in Winchester, Arkansas. Not much is known about his early life because, like most black people in the South, his story was erased. But we know this. He was a black farmer. He was educated. He could read and write, which was rare for his generation. He was a veteran. He had served his country. And he believed in justice. Not the fake justice white America talked about. Real justice. Economic justice. In 1918, Hill founded an organization, the Progressive Farmers and Household Union of America, the PFHUA. Its motto was powerful. We battle for the rights of our race. In union is strength. Read that again. In union is strength. Hill understood something that terrified white landowners. Black people individually were powerless. But black people organized Black People United. Black People Collective. That was a force that could change everything. Hill's vision was revolutionary for its time. Organize black sharecroppers across Arkansas. Get them to pool their resources. Save money together. Hire black lawyers. Sue white landowners for fair wages. Demand transparent accounting. Force them to show the books. Prove the theft. Win in court. Use the law against them. And ultimately, buy land collectively. Own the means of production. Break the chains of sharecropping forever. Become independent. Become free. This was not a radical idea. This was basic labor organizing. This was what white workers had been doing for decades, forming unions, demanding fair wages, striking for better conditions. But when black people did it, when black people demanded economic power that was seen as insurrection, that was seen as a threat to the entire social order, because the entire Southern economy was built on black exploitation. If black workers could organize and demand fair payment, the whole system would collapse. White wealth would disappear, and white supremacy would die. So Robert L. Hill was not just organizing a union, he was declaring war on a 300-year-old system of oppression. And he knew it. That's why he told members to arm themselves. That's why meetings were held in secret. That's why guards stood watch. Hill was not naive. He knew what happened to black people who challenged the system. He knew about lynchings. He knew about massacres. He knew about Wilmington in 1898. He knew the risks, but he organized anyway. Because somebody had to. Because his people deserved better. Because freedom is worth dying for. By September 1919, Hill had established PFHUA chapters in 3 Phillips County towns: Hoop, Spur, Elaine, and Ratio. Membership grew to over 1,000. 1,000 black sharecroppers willing to risk their lives for economic justice. They paid dues, 25 cents per member. Doesn't sound like much, right? But for people living on pennies a day, that was a sacrifice. They saved that money to hire lawyers. The plan was clear. File lawsuits. Demand landowners show their accounting books. Prove the wage theft. Win settlements. Use that money to buy land. Become landowners themselves. White landowners heard about this, and they panicked. Because if sharecroppers could see the books, the game was over. The books would show decades of fraud, systematic theft, millions of dollars stolen from black workers. The landowners would be exposed. They might even go to jail. At minimum, they'd have to pay what they owed. And they'd lose their labor force. Because if sharecroppers became landowners who would pick their cotton, the entire plantation economy would collapse. So they decided to crush the union before it could act. And they used the oldest trick in the white supremacist playbook: violence. Overwhelming, murderous violence. The kind that sends a message. The kind that makes people too terrified to ever organize again. September 30th, 1919. 11 p.m., Hoop Spur Church. 100 sharecroppers gathered for a union meeting. Robert L. Hill stood at the pulpit explaining the next steps. Outside, armed guards stood watch. These were not criminals. These were war veterans, black men who had fought for America, who understood tactics, who knew how to handle weapons. They were there to protect the meeting because they knew white people would try to disrupt it. And they were right. Around 11:47 p.m. a car approached. Deputy Sheriff Charles Pratt and Railroad Detective W.D. Adkins. Both white, both armed. They later claimed they were just passing by, just checking on noise complaints. But think about it. 11:47 at night, 3 miles outside of town, in a rural area, and 2 armed white men just happened to drive up to a black church where a union meeting is happening. That's not coincidence. That's intimidation. That's surveillance. That's the first step of a raid. What happened next depends on who you ask. White witnesses said the black guards opened fire without warning, ambushed them, murdered them in cold blood. Black witnesses said Pratt and Adkins fired into the church first, started shooting at unarmed people, and the guards returned fire in self-defense. Who's telling the truth? Well, think about the context. Think about the history. Think about who had power and who had everything to lose. Black sharecroppers knew that shooting a white man, even in self-defense, was a death sentence. They would not have fired first unless they were being fired upon. They had no reason to ambush 2 white men. But Pratt and Adkins had every reason to attack. They were there to break up the meeting, to terrorize the organizers, to send a message. Regardless of who fired first, here's what's certain. W.D. Adkins was killed. Charles Pratt was wounded. The sharecroppers fled into the night. Robert L. Hill disappeared. And by sunrise, the entire county knew. Black uprising, Negro insurrection, race riot. The narrative was set before anyone investigated, before anyone asked questions. The story was already written. Dangerous black radicals had attacked innocent white men, and white America needed to respond. What happened next was not a riot. It was not a battle. It was a massacre. Systematic, organized, genocidal. By dawn on October 1st, white mobs began forming. They came from all over Phillips County. They came from neighboring Mississippi counties. Plantation owners, Klansmen, poor whites, sheriffs, deputies, railroad workers, merchants. Over 1,000 armed white men. Some estimates say as many as 5,000. They armed themselves with rifles, shotguns, pistols, and machine guns. Yes, machine guns. This was not a spontaneous outburst of anger. This was a military operation. Governor Charles Braw didn't try to stop them. He encouraged them. He called in federal troops. 500 United States soldiers from Camp Pike, equipped with rifles, machine guns, and authorization to use deadly force. Their orders: restore order, put down the insurrection. But here's what you need to understand. Those federal troops didn't come to protect black people. They came to hunt them. Let that sink in. The United States military participated in a massacre of American citizens, black Americans, farmers, families, people whose only crime was organizing a union. And the government sent soldiers to kill them. White posses and federal troops swept through Phillips County like a plague. They went into the cotton fields where sharecroppers were hiding. They went into the swamps. They went into the forests. And they shot black people on sight. Men, women, children. No questions asked. No arrests, no trials. Just execution. Witnesses described it like hunting animals. White participants later bragged about it. One said, "We killed them like we were hunting rabbits." Another said, "We shot every black we saw." Think about that language. Every black we saw. Not every suspect. Not every union member. Every black person. Guilty by skin color. Black families ran for their lives. Mothers grabbed their children and fled into the swamps. They hid in the underbrush. They covered their babies' mouths to keep them from crying. They watched from hiding places as white mobs burned their homes, as soldiers shot their neighbors, as bodies fell in the cotton fields. They stayed silent as death surrounded them because making a sound meant dying. Some didn't make it. Families were caught in the open, shot down together, left in ditches, left in fields. Elderly people who couldn't run fast enough, pregnant women, teenagers. Didn't matter. If you were black, you were a target. White mobs surrounded homes and set them on fire. When people ran out to escape the flames, they shot them. If they stayed inside, they burned alive. Either way, they died. And the white mobs laughed. They took photographs. They kept souvenirs, body parts. This was entertainment for them. This was sport. Bodies floated in the Mississippi River. Bodies were left in ditches along the roads. Bodies were piled in freight cars, and no one counted them. No one recorded their names. No one buried them properly. They were thrown in mass graves, or left to rot. Because to white America, they weren't people. They were problems that needed to be eliminated. How many died? The official report said 5 whites and 25 blacks. 5 whites and 25 blacks. Does that sound believable to you? 5 white people died, including the 2 men killed at the church. But somehow, only 25 black people died during a 2-day rampage involving thousands of armed white men and federal troops hunting black people through the countryside. That's not a count. That's a cover-up. Black survivors testified to a different reality. They spoke of hundreds dead. The NAACP investigated and estimated at least 100 deaths. Other historians put the number between 100 and 237 confirmed deaths, and some believe as many as 800 black people were murdered. We'll never know the true number, because they didn't count black bodies, because they destroyed the evidence, because they wanted this massacre to disappear. But it gets worse. The federal troops didn't just participate in the killing. They rounded up survivors. Over 285 black people were arrested. Not white people. Black people. The victims were arrested. They were forced into makeshift stockades, one-room schoolhouses, hot freight cars, no food, no water, no bathrooms, for days, treated like prisoners of war. And here's the sickest part. The only way black sharecroppers were released was if their white landlords vouched for them. Think about that. If your white landlord said, "That's my worker, I need him for the cotton harvest," you were released. Otherwise, you stayed in jail, or you were killed. So the same white men who had been stealing from these sharecroppers, who had been oppressing them, who had motivated them to organize a union in the first place, now had the power to decide whether they lived or died. And they used that power to make sure the cotton got picked. Because even during a massacre, even during genocide, profit came first. By October 3rd, the killing slowed down. Not because justice prevailed, but because white people got tired, because they ran out of targets, because the cotton needed to be harvested and they needed black labor alive. So they declared victory. They announced the insurrection had been put down. Order was restored, and America moved on, except for the 285 black people sitting in jail, except for the families of the dead, except for the survivors who lost everything. For them, the nightmare was just beginning. Out of those 285 arrested black people, 122 were indicted. 73 were charged with murder. 12 were sentenced to death. 12 black sharecroppers sentenced to die for defending themselves, for attending a union meeting, for wanting fair wages. These became known as the Elaine 12. Their trials were a mockery of justice. Each trial lasted less than 1 hour. 1 hour to decide if a man lives or dies. All white juries. Of course, defense attorneys appointed by the court who did nothing. Literally nothing. They called no witnesses. They presented no evidence. They barely cross-examined. Some historians believe these attorneys were working with the prosecution. They wanted these men convicted. They wanted them dead. The defendants weren't allowed to testify in their own defense. Why? Because Arkansas law said black people couldn't testify against white people. So even though white witnesses lied, even though white people fabricated stories about a planned black uprising, the accused couldn't speak, couldn't defend themselves, couldn't tell the truth. And the confessions, extracted through torture. T.K. Jones and H.F. Smitty, two white members of the posse, later admitted in sworn affidavits that they personally tortured black prisoners. Whippings, electric shocks, mock executions. They put guns to men's heads and told them to confess or die. They beat them until they said whatever the white men wanted to hear. Then they used those forced confessions in court as evidence. All 12 men were convicted. All 12 were sentenced to death by electrocution, the fastest mass death sentence in American history, and not a single white person was charged with any crime. Not one. Despite killing over 200 black people, despite burning homes, despite torture, despite genocide, 0 arrests, 0 trials, 0 consequences. Meanwhile, Robert L. Hill, the union organizer, escaped. He fled Arkansas and was never captured. Some say he went to Kansas. Others say he made it to Chicago. He lived under assumed names for the rest of his life. He died in 1963. He spent 44 years in hiding because he dared to organize black workers, because he believed in fair wages, because he fought for economic justice. But the story doesn't end with 12 death sentences, because something happened that white Arkansas didn't expect. The NAACP got involved, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, founded in 1909 to fight for black civil rights. They heard about Elaine, and they decided to fight. They hired lawyers, not just any lawyers. They hired Scipio Africanus Jones, a black attorney from Little Rock, one of the most brilliant legal minds of his generation. Jones took the case knowing it could get him killed, knowing he was challenging the entire white power structure of Arkansas. But he took it anyway, because justice mattered more than safety. Jones and the NAACP appealed the convictions. They argued the trials were unconstitutional, that the defendants didn't receive due process, that the confessions were coerced, that the juries were rigged, that the entire proceeding was a sham designed to legalize murder. And in 1923, 4 years after the massacre, the case reached the United States Supreme Court. Moore versus Dempsey. On February 19, 1923, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Elaine 12. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote the majority opinion. He said the trials were dominated by a mob, that the defendants had no real opportunity to defend themselves, that convicting someone under those conditions violated the 14th Amendment. The convictions were overturned. All 12 men were eventually released, not because Arkansas wanted to, but because the Supreme Court forced them to. And even then, it took years. The last of the Elaine 12 wasn't freed until 1925, 6 years after the massacre. 6 years in prison for the crime of attending a union meeting. This was a landmark legal victory. Moore versus Dempsey established that states couldn't conduct sham trials dominated by mob mentality. It set precedent for federal courts to review state criminal proceedings. It was a huge win for civil rights. But here's what it didn't do. It didn't bring back the dead. It didn't compensate the survivors. It didn't return stolen property. It didn't punish a single white person involved in the massacre. It didn't even acknowledge that a massacre happened. And most importantly, it didn't stop it from happening again. Because Elaine wasn't unique. It wasn't an aberration. It was part of a pattern. A systematic pattern of white terrorism designed to crush black economic power. And it happened over and over and over again across America. Let me show you the pattern. Rosewood, Florida, January 1923. Just 4 years after Elaine. A prosperous black town in Levy County. Population 120 to 150. Most residents owned their land. Black-owned businesses, Black-owned churches, Black-owned schools. A thriving community built from nothing by formerly enslaved people and their children. Real economic independence. Real black wealth. On January 1st, 1923, a white woman named Fannie Taylor in the nearby white town of Sumner claimed she was assaulted by a black man. No evidence, no witnesses, just her word. That was enough. White mobs from Sumner and surrounding towns formed immediately. They were looking for an escaped black convict named Jesse Hunter. But they didn't just search. They invaded Rosewood. They came with guns. They came with torches. They came with bloodlust. Over several days, white mobs systematically destroyed Rosewood. They burned every black-owned building to the ground. Every home, every church, every business, everything. They shot black residents who tried to defend their property. They hunted black families through the swamps. Men, women, children. Shot on sight. Lynched. Burned alive. Some black residents fought back. A man named Sylvester Carrier and his family barricaded themselves in their home. When the white mob attacked, they fired back, killed 2 white men, wounded several others. The mob surrounded the house and burned it down with the family inside. Those who ran out were shot. The massacre lasted a week. Official death toll. 6 black people, 2 white people, 8 total. But survivors told a different story. They spoke of mass graves, bodies thrown in swamps, families that disappeared. Estimates range from 40 to 150 black people murdered. We'll never know the true number, because just like Elaine, they didn't count black bodies. By January 7th, 1923, Rosewood no longer existed. Not a single building remained. The entire town was erased. Survivors fled to nearby Gainesville and other cities. They left behind everything: their land, their businesses, their homes, their wealth, and they never came back. Why? Because returning meant death. White people made that clear. Any black person who tried to reclaim their property was threatened, beaten, or killed, and the land stolen. White people simply took it. No legal process, no compensation, just theft. The descendants of Rosewood residents tried for decades to get their land back. The state of Florida didn't even acknowledge the massacre happened until 1993, 70 years later. In 1994, Florida paid $9.7 million to survivors and descendants. Sounds like a lot, right? But divide that among all the families who lost everything, and it's pennies. A few $1,000s per person. For entire towns, for generations of wealth, for homes and businesses and land worth millions. They got pennies. Rosewood wasn't about one white woman's accusation. It was about black economic independence. It was about white people refusing to tolerate black prosperity. So they destroyed it, and the pattern continues. Wilmington, North Carolina, November 10th, 1898. 21 years before Elaine. This is important because it shows the pattern started long before 1919. Wilmington was a majority black city, over 60% black population. And unlike most southern cities, black people in Wilmington had political power. They held elected office, city councilmen, police officers, magistrates. Black businessmen owned successful companies. Black newspapers published daily. A thriving black middle class with real political and economic power. White supremacists couldn't tolerate it, so they organized a coup. Yes, a coup. The only successful violent overthrow of the elected government in United States history. And it happened in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1898. White supremacist leaders, including Alfred Moore Waddell, a former Confederate officer, spent months planning. They formed a secret society called the Secret Nine. They recruited hundreds of white men into militias called the Red Shirts. They stockpiled weapons. They created a propaganda campaign claiming black people were dangerous, incompetent, and threatening white women. Sound familiar? The same playbook used in Elaine and Rosewood in every massacre. On November 10, 1898, the coup began. 2,000 armed white men marched through Wilmington. They went to the offices of the Daily Record, a black-owned newspaper. They burned it to the ground. Then they started shooting. They shot black people in the streets, in their homes, in their businesses. They shot anyone who resisted, anyone who ran, anyone they saw. Black residents tried to defend themselves. Some fired back, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. The white mob had a Gatling gun, a machine gun. They used it on black neighborhoods, spraying bullets into homes, into crowds, into families. By the end of the day, the white mob had overthrown the elected government. They forced the mayor to resign at gunpoint. They forced black city councilmen to resign. They installed Alfred Waddell as the new mayor. And they announced that any black person who challenged them would be killed. Over the next several days, they banished prominent black leaders from the city, forced them onto trains at gunpoint, told them never to return or they'd be murdered. How many died? Official count was 25. But like Elaine, like Rosewood, survivors told a different story. Bodies in the river. Bodies buried in mass graves. Families disappeared. Estimates range from 60 to 300 black people murdered. And just like the others, no one was ever prosecuted. No one was arrested. No one faced consequences. The white supremacists won. They took control of Wilmington and held it for generations. Black political power was destroyed. Black businesses were destroyed. Black wealth was destroyed. And the message was sent. If black people gain economic or political power, white people will use violence to take it away. Now let me tell you about Red Summer, 1919. The same year as Elaine. Because Elaine wasn't the only massacre that year. It was one of over 25 race massacres that occurred across America between April and November 1919. That's why historians call it Red Summer, not because of communism, but because of blood. Black blood. World War I had just ended in November 1918. Over 350,000 black soldiers served in that war. They fought in Europe. They were treated with respect in France. They saw a world where black people weren't constantly terrorized, and they came home expecting things to change, expecting America to honor their service, expecting democracy. Instead, they came home to lynch mobs, to segregation, to Jim Crow, to sharecropping, to poverty, to oppression. And many of them said no more. We fought for democracy abroad. Now we're going to demand it at home. That attitude terrified white America, because black people who weren't afraid were dangerous to white supremacy. So white America responded with overwhelming violence. Chicago, July 1919. A black teenager named Eugene Williams was swimming in Lake Michigan. He accidentally drifted into the white section of the beach. White people threw rocks at him. He drowned. When black people demanded the arrest of the white men, responsible white mobs attacked black neighborhoods. For 13 days, white gangs roamed Chicago attacking black people, burning black homes, destroying black businesses. 38 people died, 23 black, 15 white, 537 injured. Over 1,000 black families left homeless. Federal troops finally restored order, but no one was held accountable. Washington, D.C., July 1919. White sailors and soldiers, angry about rumors of black men assaulting white women, formed mobs and attacked black neighborhoods for 4 days. They pulled black people off streetcars and beat them. They invaded black homes. They shot into crowds. Federal troops did nothing. The violence only stopped when black residents armed themselves and fought back. At least 15 people died, over 150 injured, and again, no accountability. Omaha, Nebraska, September 1919. A black man named Will Brown was accused of assaulting a white woman. A white mob of over 5,000 people stormed the courthouse where Brown was being held. They demanded the sheriff hand him over. When he refused, they set the courthouse on fire. They dragged Will Brown out, beat him, shot him, lynched him, then burned his body and dragged it through the streets. Federal troops arrived too late. The mob had already dispersed. No one was prosecuted. Charleston, South Carolina, May 1919. Knoxville, Tennessee, August 1919. Longview, Texas, July 1919. Over and over and over. The same pattern. White mobs attacking black communities, burning black businesses, killing black people, and zero consequences. In every case, the federal government either did nothing or actively participated in the violence. Do you see it now? Do you see the pattern? Every time black people built wealth, they destroyed it. Every time black people organized for fair wages, they massacred them. Every time black people gained political power, they overthrew them with violence. This wasn't isolated incidents. This wasn't random riots. This was systematic terrorism. This was genocide. This was policy. And the United States government participated. Federal troops participated. State governments participated. Local police participated. Judges participated. Prosecutors participated. Every level of the system worked together to crush black economic and political power. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's documented history. So when people ask, why is there a wealth gap? This is why. When people ask, why don't black people just work harder and build businesses? This is why. Because every time we did, they burned it down. Every time we organized, they massacred us. Every time we succeeded, they stole everything. For over a century, systematically, with government support. But understanding the massacres isn't enough. You need to understand how they covered it up. Because the cover-up is what allowed it to continue. The cover-up is what erased this history from textbooks. The cover-up is why 3 generations of Americans never learned about Elaine, about Rosewood, about Wilmington, about Red Summer. So let me show you exactly how they did it. First method, physical destruction. Destroy all evidence. In Elaine, white authorities burned black churches where union meetings were held. They bulldozed black homes and cabins. They confiscated all union documents, membership lists, financial records, correspondence with lawyers, everything. And they burned it all. No paper trail, no evidence of organizing, no proof the union existed. Bodies, they disposed of them. Many were thrown into the Mississippi River. Others buried in unmarked mass graves. Some left in swamps to decompose. No death certificates, no autopsies, no official records. If there's no body, there's no murder, right? That was their logic. And it worked. To this day, we don't know how many people died in Elaine. The evidence was destroyed. Witnesses killed or driven out. Any black person who witnessed the massacre and survived was threatened into silence. If you talk, you die. If you testify, your family dies. So people stayed quiet. And those who didn't stay quiet disappeared. Families who inquired about missing loved ones were threatened, beaten, or killed. Within months, thousands of black families had fled Phillips County. They abandoned their land, their crops, their homes, everything, because staying meant death. By 1920, Phillips County's black population had dropped by over 30%. Thousands of people gone. And their land, white people took it. No legal process, no compensation. Just showed up and claimed it. Filed new deeds with the county. And since the black owners were dead or fled, no one contested it. Theft legalized through violence. This happened in Rosewood too. Every building burned. Every resident fled. And white people took the land. In Wilmington, black businesses were burned. Black leaders were exiled. And white people seized their property. The pattern was always the same. Massacre, destroy evidence, steal the land. Second method, legal suppression. Use the legal system to legitimize the violence. This is diabolical. In Elaine, within days of the massacre, Arkansas officials arrested 285 black people. Think about that. Over 200 black people killed by white mobs and federal troops. 0 white people arrested, but 285 black people arrested for defending themselves, for attending a meeting, for being black. They charged them with insurrection, with conspiracy to murder white people, with inciting a riot. No evidence, just accusations, and the confessions extracted through torture. T.K. Jones and H.F. Smitty, white men who participated in the massacre, later testified under oath that they tortured black prisoners. They whipped them. They used electric shocks. They held mock executions, put guns to people's heads and said, "Confess or we'll kill you right now." And when people confessed to save their lives, those confessions were used in court as legitimate evidence. The trials were a mockery. Less than 1 hour each, all white juries, defense attorneys who did nothing, defendants not allowed to testify, predetermined outcomes. 12 men sentenced to death, not for killing anyone, but for attending a union meeting, for wanting fair wages. That's what they were really being executed for. And the legal system rubber-stamped it. This sent a message. If you organize, we'll call it insurrection. We'll arrest you, we'll convict you, we'll execute you, and it will all be legal. The law will be on our side. This wasn't justice. This was legalized lynching, and it was effective. For decades, black people in Arkansas were too terrified to organize unions, too terrified to demand fair wages, too terrified to challenge white landowners, because they saw what happened in Elaine. Third method, educational erasure. Delete it from history. This is how they made sure future generations never learned the truth. For 80 years, the Elaine Massacre was not in Arkansas textbooks, not in history books, not taught in schools. Libraries had no books about it. Universities didn't research it. It was erased. When it was mentioned at all, it was called the Elaine Race Riot, not massacre. Riot. That word matters. Riot implies both sides were violent. Riot implies chaos. Riot implies equal responsibility. But Elaine wasn't a riot. It was a massacre. It was genocide. One side had machine guns and federal troops. The other side had sharecroppers running for their lives. That's not a riot. That's extermination. White historians rewrote the story. They claimed black sharecroppers were planning to massacre white people. Zero evidence for this. But they repeated it until it became accepted as fact. They portrayed Robert L. Hill as a dangerous radical, the Progressive Farmers Union as a terrorist organization, the union members as violent criminals, and the white mobs and federal troops as heroes who saved Arkansas from a black uprising. A complete inversion of reality. The victims became the villains. The perpetrators became the heroes. And that became the official history. 3 generations of Americans, black and white, grew up never knowing what really happened. They learned a lie, and they believed it. Because that's what was in the textbooks. This happened everywhere. Rosewood wasn't taught in Florida schools until the 1990s. Wilmington wasn't taught in North Carolina schools until the 2000s. The Tulsa Race Massacre, where over 300 black people were killed, and an entire black business district called Black Wall Street was destroyed, that wasn't in Oklahoma textbooks until 2000. Think about that. 80 years of silence, 80 years of erasure. Why? Because teaching the truth would force white America to confront what it did, to acknowledge the terrorism, to admit the theft, to pay reparations. So instead, they deleted it. Fourth method, media manipulation. Control the narrative. White newspapers praised the massacres. The Helena World in Arkansas wrote, "The trouble was a deliberately planned insurrection of Negroes against whites, directed by an organization known as the Progressive Farmers and Household Union." Pure fiction. But that's what white readers saw. That's what they believed. The Arkansas Gazette called it a Negro uprising crushed by brave citizens and federal troops. Brave citizens. They called white mobs who murdered over 200 people brave citizens, and federal troops who hunted black families through swamps. Heroes. That was the narrative. Northern newspapers weren't much better. Even liberal papers repeated the lies without investigation. They trusted Southern white authorities. They published official statements without questioning them, without interviewing black survivors, without seeking the truth. So the white supremacist narrative spread nationwide, and it became accepted as fact. The only accurate reporting came from the black press. The Chicago Defender sent a reporter to Arkansas. He interviewed survivors. He documented the massacre. He told the truth. The Crisis magazine published by the NAACP investigated and published detailed accounts. But white America didn't read those publications, so the truth stayed contained within the black community. And white America continued believing the lie. Photographs of the massacres were suppressed. Journalists who tried to report the truth were threatened. In Wilmington, the black newspaper that might have documented the coup was burned down on the first day. In Rosewood, there were no black newspapers. In Elaine, black witnesses were too terrified to speak publicly. So the evidence was controlled, the narrative was controlled, and the lie became history. This is how they erased genocide: physical destruction of evidence, legal suppression of victims, educational erasure from schools, media manipulation of the narrative. 4 methods working together to hide the truth for generations. And it worked. Until now. Until historians started investigating. Until survivors' testimonies were recorded. Until descendants demanded the truth. Until videos like this one expose what they tried to bury. Now let me connect this to today, because this isn't ancient history. This directly explains the world you're living in right now. The injustices you see today aren't random. They're not accidents. They're not the result of individual bad actors. They're the direct continuation of the systems that enabled Elaine Rosewood Wilmington and Red Summer. Let me prove it to you. First, the wealth gap. In 2025, the median white household has $188,000 in wealth. The median black household, $24,000. That's an 8-to-1 gap. White families have 8 times more wealth than black families. Why white Americans love to say it's because black people don't work hard enough. It's because of poor choices. It's because of culture. But that's a lie. And Elaine proves it's a lie. The black sharecroppers in Elaine worked harder than anyone. Dawn to dusk in the cotton fields. Their entire families worked. Children worked. Grandparents worked. Back-breaking labor for decades. And they were organizing to keep the money they earned, to get paid fairly for their work, to build wealth. But they were massacred, and their wealth was stolen. If those sharecroppers had succeeded, if the Union had won, they could have bought land, built businesses, passed wealth to their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. By 2025, those families could have been millionaires, landowners, business owners, generationally wealthy. But that didn't happen, because they were killed, because their land was stolen, because their wealth was confiscated. So instead of inheriting land and businesses and wealth, their descendants inherited trauma, inherited poverty, inherited nothing. And this happened across the South, in every state, in every county. Millions of Black families systematically robbed of wealth for over a century. Sharecropping stole their wages. Massacres stole their lives. Jim Crow stole their opportunities. Redlining stole their ability to buy homes. Urban renewal stole their neighborhoods. For 100 years. Generation after generation. That's why the wealth gap exists. Not because Black people don't work hard, but because every time we built wealth, they stole it. Every time we accumulated resources, they destroyed them. Every time we passed something down, they confiscated it. So while white families accumulated wealth, generation after generation, Black families started from zero, over and over and over. In 2025, white families benefit from wealth accumulated over centuries, inherited homes, inherited businesses, inherited investments, generational wealth that compounds. But Black families, we're still recovering from theft that happened in our grandparents' lifetime, still trying to build what was stolen, still starting from zero. That's not culture. That's not poor choices. That's theft. Systematic, legalized government-sanctioned theft. And the thieves never paid it back. Second, reparations. People say slavery was 160 years ago. Get over it. Move on. Why should we pay for something that happened so long ago? But Elaine was only 106 years ago. Your grandparents' lifetime. Some survivors lived into the 1990s. This isn't ancient history. This is recent history. Sharecropping economic slavery didn't end until the 1960s. 60 years ago. Your parents' lifetime. Redlining when banks refused to give home loans to Black families was legal until 1968. 57 years ago. Many of you watching this video were alive in 1968. This isn't distant past. This is your lifetime. The theft is ongoing. In 2025, Black families still can't accumulate wealth at the same rate as white families. Not because we're not working hard, but because the foundation was stolen. The starting point was stolen. The generational wealth was stolen. And it was never returned. So when we demand reparations, we're not asking for charity. We're not asking for handouts. We're demanding stolen property be returned. We're demanding compensation for over a century of legalized theft, terrorism, and genocide. This is a debt owed, a debt documented, a debt that must be paid. Think about it this way. If someone stole your car and you caught them and you took them to court, the judge wouldn't say, "Well, that was last year, get over it." No, the judge would order them to return your car and compensate you for the time you lost. That's basic justice. But America stole not just cars. They stole land. They stole businesses. They stole entire towns. They stole the labor of millions of people for generations. They stole trillions of dollars in wealth. And when we demand it back, they say, "Get over it." That's not justice. That's continued theft. Reparations aren't radical. They're basic restitution. Germany paid reparations to Holocaust survivors. Japan paid reparations to Japanese Americans interned during World War II. America paid reparations to Native American tribes for stolen land. But Black Americans? We're still waiting, still demanding, still being told no. Why? Because paying what's owed would bankrupt the system. Because admitting the theft would expose the lie. Because returning stolen wealth would level the playing field. And white supremacy can't survive on a level playing field. So they refuse. And they call us greedy for demanding what's ours. Third, modern systemic racism. Elaine explains everything you see today. Gentrification. That's modern land theft, just like Elaine. White developers come into black neighborhoods we've lived in for generations, and force us out. They raise property taxes until we can't afford them. They buy buildings and raise rents until we're evicted. They destroy affordable housing and build luxury condos, and we're displaced. Again. Our communities destroyed. Again. Our wealth stolen. Again. The tactics changed. They don't use torches and guns anymore. They use zoning laws and tax codes and development permits. But the result is the same. Black people forced off valuable land. White people profiting from our displacement. Land theft, just like Elaine. Mass incarceration. That's modern sharecropping. 13 million black people cycled through prisons and jails every year. Forced to work for pennies. 23 cents per hour in federal prisons. Billions in profit for private prison corporations. Can't leave even after your sentence because parole restrictions trap you in the system. Can't get jobs because of criminal records. Trapped in debt. Trapped in poverty. Trapped in a cycle. Sound familiar? That's sharecropping. Prison labor is slavery with a different name. Police brutality. That's modern KKK terrorism. Armed white men killing unarmed black people with impunity. Just like 1919. Just like Elaine. The uniforms changed. They wear badges now instead of hoods. But the function is the same. Terrorize black communities. Maintain white supremacy through violence. And face zero consequences. When police kill unarmed black people, what happens? Paid administrative leave. Internal investigations that find no wrongdoing. Grand juries that refuse to indict. Trials that end in acquittals. Sound familiar? That's exactly what happened after Elaine, after Rosewood, after Wilmington. Zero accountability. The system protects the killers. Always has. Still does. The system didn't change. It evolved. The tactics got more sophisticated. The language got more coded. But the purpose remained the same. Suppress black economic and political power by any means necessary, including violence. If your great-grandparents were sharecroppers in Arkansas, in Mississippi, in Alabama, in Louisiana, in Georgia, in Tennessee, this affected you. If your grandmother worked in the cotton fields for pennies, this is why. If your family has struggled with poverty for generations, this is why. Your inheritance was stolen, and the thieves never paid it back. This isn't your fault. This isn't because you didn't work hard enough. This isn't because of poor choices or bad culture. This is theft. Systematic theft that spans generations. And until America acknowledges, it apologizes for it, and pays for it, the injustice continues. Now let me tell you who you really are. Because after all this darkness, after all this truth about what they did to us, you need to understand who you are. You are not victims. You are survivors. You are not poor because you didn't work hard enough. You are recovering from theft. You are not powerless. You carry the strength of warriors. Robert L. Hill and those 100 sharecroppers at Hoop Spur Church weren't radicals. They were heroes. They stood up to a terrorist system and said, "We will not be enslaved anymore." They knew they could be killed. They knew white mobs would come. They knew federal troops might hunt them. And they organized anyway. That's courage. That's revolutionary courage. They faced machine guns. They faced lynch mobs. They faced the United States military. And they fought back. Some died fighting. Others fled, but survived. And their courage, their resistance, their refusal to accept oppression that's in your DNA. Your ancestors survived the Middle Passage. 20% of enslaved Africans died during that voyage. Thrown overboard, starved to death, died of disease. But your ancestors survived. That's strength. They survived 250 years of slavery, rape, torture, family separation, forced labor, murder. But they survived. They built families. They preserved culture. They maintained humanity in the midst of hell. That's resilience. They survived Reconstruction terrorism. The KKK burned their schools, lynched their leaders, stole their land. But they kept building, kept organizing, kept fighting. That's determination. They survived Jim Crow, segregation, separate and unequal everything, voter suppression, economic exploitation, daily humiliation. But they raised children. They built businesses. They created art and music and literature. They built entire communities from nothing. That's genius. They survived sharecropping, economic slavery, debt peonage, trapped for generations. But they organized unions, fought for fair wages, resisted even when resistance meant death. That's courage. They survived Elaine, survived Tulsa, survived Rosewood, survived Wilmington, survived Red Summer, survived massacre after massacre after massacre. And you're here because they survived. You carry that strength. You carry that resilience. You carry that genius. You carry that courage. Your ancestors weren't helpless. They were brilliant. In 1919, black sharecroppers in Arkansas, people who had been enslaved just 54 years earlier, organized a union to demand fair wages. Think about that. Organized a union, hired lawyers, planned to sue in court, pooled resources to buy land collectively. That's sophisticated organizing. That's economic strategy. That's revolutionary thinking. And they did it while facing terrorism every single day, while knowing they could be killed for it. They did it anyway. That's your legacy. You come from people who never stopped fighting, who never accepted oppression, who built empires even while empires were trying to destroy them. Your ancestors were millionaires. Before Elaine, before Tulsa, before Rosewood, before Wilmington, black people built wealth, owned land, owned businesses, created thriving communities. They did that, starting from nothing, starting from slavery. Within one generation, some became millionaires. That's extraordinary. And when their wealth was stolen, when their communities were destroyed, when their families were murdered, did they give up? No. They rebuilt. Again and again and again. Every time they were knocked down, they got back up. Every time they lost everything, they started over. That persistence, that refusal to quit, that's in you. So when you look at your life today, when you see the struggles, when you face the obstacles, remember where you come from. You come from people who survived genocide. You come from people who built wealth from ashes. You come from people who faced the United States military and fought back. You come from people who never quit. That power is in you. Now let me speak to you spiritually. Because if you believe in God, if you have faith, you need to understand something. God did not bring your ancestors through the Middle Passage for no reason. God did not preserve them through slavery for no reason. God did not sustain them through Jim Crow, through sharecropping, through massacres, through terrorism for no reason. You are here because God has a mission for you. Your existence is not an accident. Your survival is not luck. You are here because God preserved you, because God has a purpose for you, and that purpose is clear. Reveal truth. Demand justice. Reclaim what was stolen. Restore your people. The devil tried to erase you. White supremacy tried to exterminate you. They killed your ancestors. They stole your wealth. They erased your history. They tried everything to make you disappear. But you're still here. Think about that. After everything they did, you're still here. That's not coincidence. That's God. And if God brought you through all that, if God preserved you through centuries of oppression, He has something great for you to do. So don't walk in shame. Don't walk in poverty mindset. Don't walk like a victim. Walk in the truth of who you are. You are a child of warriors. You are an heir to stolen empires. You are a vessel of divine justice. You are powerful. You are owed. And it's time to collect. Not through violence, not through revenge, but through truth, through justice, through demanding what's rightfully yours, through organizing like Robert L. Hill organized, through resisting like your ancestors resisted, through building like they built, through fighting like they fought. You are a survivor. You are a warrior. You are a genius. You are owed. You are powerful. You are blessed. You are unstoppable. Say it with me. I am a survivor. I am a warrior. I am owed. I am powerful. I am unstoppable. Now pause right here. If this truth shocked you, drop a comment below and type Elaine. If you never learned this in school, type erased. If you're tired of the lies they've been teaching us, hit that like button right now. And listen, if you have family members who don't know this story, share this video. Text it to your parents. Show it to your children. Post it on Facebook. Post it on Twitter. Send it in your group chats. We cannot let them erase us again. This is our history, and we have to preserve it. Because if we don't tell these stories, they'll bury them again for another 100 years. Don't let that happen. Share this video right now, before you forget, before you move on to the next thing. Right now. Share it. And here's why this matters. Every share is an act of resistance. Every view is a reclamation of stolen history. Every person who learns this truth is one more person who understands why reparations aren't radical, why the wealth gap isn't our fault, why systemic racism is real. This video is a weapon of truth, and you have the power to multiply it. So use that power. Share it. Before we close, I need you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel. Click that subscribe button right now. We're exposing hundreds more stories like this. Massacres you never heard of. Heroes they erased from textbooks. Stolen wealth they never talk about. Every week a new revelation. Every video another truth they tried to bury. Don't miss it. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Second, tell your children this story. Tonight sit them down and say, let me tell you about Elaine, Arkansas, 1919. Tell them about Robert L. Hill. Tell them about the Progressive Farmers Union. Tell them about the sharecroppers who organized for fair wages. Tell them about the massacre. Tell them about the cover-up. Tell them the truth. Because if you don't teach them, the schools won't. The schools are still hiding this history, still teaching the lies, still erasing our ancestors. So you have to teach them. You have to pass down the truth. That's your responsibility as a parent, as a grandparent, as an elder. Don't let another generation grow up ignorant of their own history. Third, demand reparations. This isn't optional. This isn't a favor. This is a debt. Call your congressman. Call your senator. Demand they support reparations legislation. Vote for candidates who support reparations. Support organizations fighting for reparations. Make noise. Make it uncomfortable. Make it unavoidable. They're not going to pay willingly. They never do. Justice is never given. It's demanded, it's fought for, it's taken. So demand it. Fight for it. Take it. Not with violence, with votes, with organizing, with economic power, with truth. This isn't revenge. This is justice. This is truth. This is restoration. You are part of this story. You are the continuation of Robert L. Hill's fight. He started something in 1919 that wasn't finished. The massacre interrupted it. The terror suppressed it. But it's not over. It's your turn now. Pick up the torch. Finish what he started. Organize, demand, resist, build, and don't let them erase us again. Not this time. Not ever again. You are the keeper of this truth now. You are the guardian of this history. You are the warrior in this generation. So act like it, walk like it, live like it, and don't stop until justice is done. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for preserving this truth. We thank you for the courage of Robert L. Hill and the 100 sharecroppers who stood in that church on September 30th, 1919. We thank you for every black farmer who risked their life to organize, to fight, to resist. We thank you that their sacrifice was not in vain, that we're still here, that we're still fighting. We pray for the souls of the 200+ men, women, and children murdered in Elaine. We pray for justice for their families, whose cries were silenced for 106 years. We pray that their memory is honored, that their names are remembered, that their deaths are not forgotten. Lord, we ask you to awaken your people. Open the eyes of those who have been deceived by lies. Give courage to those who are afraid to speak truth. Strengthen those who resist erasure and oppression. Empower those who fight for justice. We pray for the restoration of what was stolen from us. Restore our land. Restore our wealth. Restore our dignity. Vindicate the memory of our ancestors. And give us the courage to demand what is rightfully ours. Bless every person watching this video. Protect them as they walk in truth. Empower them to fight for justice. Use them as instruments of your divine restoration. Let them be the generation that breaks the chains, that demands the debt, that restores what was stolen. We pray for wisdom to organize, courage to resist, strength to endure, and victory to overcome. We declare that the systems of oppression are coming down, that the lies are being exposed, that the truth is being revealed, and that justice is coming. In Jesus' name, amen. Walk in truth. Demand justice. Remember, Elaine, you are free. Until next time, build wealth, demand reparations, and never forget what they stole from us. Never forget who you are. Never forget where you come from. And never stop fighting until justice is done.